parents. Right now I'm in a very ugly business hotel in Sendai. You may be wondering, why are you there? What's in Sendai? Well, long story short, well actually it's not a short story, never mind. But one of my deepest regrets before I became a resident of Japan was not using the JR All Rail Pass, which is like 300 bucks, and you can use JR lines throughout the country. 300 bucks sounds kind of expensive for a train pass, but actually when you consider like all of the places that you can go, it's incredibly cheap. Like for me, just a round trip from Tokyo to Osaka is 300 bucks. So the All Rail Pass is not available to Japanese citizens, and it's not available to residents either. Only tourists can get it. So yeah, I regret never having gotten that pass before. But there are some regional passes that are available to residents. Not Japanese citizens, but residents. And one of those is the 5-day Tohoku pass. So that is why I'm in Sendai, because I'm gonna travel a little bit around Tohoku for the next 5 days. Well, 6 actually. I'm gonna be in Sendai for 3 days, and then I'm gonna visit a friend in Yamagata for a couple days, and then go back to Sendai because I'm flying out of Sendai next week. Wow. So there are 6 prefectures in Tohoku. The northernmost one is Aomori, then you've got Aomori, Akita, Iwate, Miyagi, Yamagata, and Fukushima. So with 5 days, it's possible for me to set foot in every prefecture, but I don't want to just like go there for lunch and then just, you know, do something really short just to say that I've been there. I would like to actually spend time in each prefecture. So on this trip, I'm gonna be staying primarily in Miyagi Prefecture and in Yamagata Prefecture. But tomorrow I am gonna go to Iwate because I want to do the Wanko Soba challenge. So I literally am just going there for lunch and saying that I've been to Iwate. But I do want to come back again in the summer and rent a car. This is what the pass looks like, by the way. It says online that you can't like share the pass with anybody else, or you can't transfer it to anybody else, but my name is not on here. I mean, I needed my passport to retrieve it from the machine, but there's no name on here. I could give it away if I wanted to, but I won't. Now for a quick little hotel tour. This is the Appa Villa Hotel, about 10 minutes from Sendai Station. The room was very cheap because I booked it as a sort of package with the airline. I'll have the prices for everything, including the flights, in the description, in case you forget anything. I'm not too sure if tattoos are okay in there. I'm kind of scared to ask. Like, just go up to the front desk and be like, hey, are tattoos okay in the bath? Because they might be like, FBI, we got her. Maybe I should ask, though. I'll ask. すいません。温泉ではタトゥーの人も入れますか？はい。はい。はい。はい、わかりました。ありがとうございます。Only small tattoos. No big ones. But it's fine because I'm going to Naruko Onsen and they're tattoo friendly. So the first night I just got Indian food and relaxed, but the following morning my first adventure was actually to Yamadera, but I thought it would be best to put that into part 2, which will just be Yamagata Prefecture. The same day I also went up to Morioka in Iwate for the Wanko Soba challenge, but that will be in its own video. This video will just be about places in and around Sendai, though every place in this miniseries is easily accessible from Sendai, which is one reason it's such an awesome city and the primary reason I chose it as my home base for the trip. So here we are at Naruko Onsen. It's an onsen town in Miyagi Prefecture which has a history of over 1,000 years. The hot spring was discovered in the year 837 after an eruption. You can find dozens of ryokan, traditional Japanese inns, and baths around the town. It's also famous for kokeshi dolls, handcrafted toys that are popular in mountain villages in Tohoku. There are kokeshi decorating experiences you can do in Sendai or Naruko, or you can buy a finished doll. Either way, it's a great souvenir. Some of the onsen in the town are tattoo friendly, but not all of them. I found a list online of the ones that were. I looked for those and had a nice walk around the town. About 2 kilometers from Naruko Onsen is Naruko Gorge, which is one of the prettiest spots for autumn leaves. You could do some hiking there, and I think it's also possible to drive. If you time things right, you can even catch an epic view of the train passing through, but that only happens every 2 hours or so. I ended up at Taki no Yu, a small onsen with 2 baths. They're separated by gender, and I think the male one also has 2 baths. It was just 200 yen to enter. There was nowhere to rent a towel though, so I had to dry off with the tiny hand towel that I had with me. Well worth it though. It was really nice to relax in the bath after I'd been running around all day. I had about an hour and a half until my train, so I had a coffee at Coffee House June, and then I went to hang out in the station until it was time to go. The following morning I made my way to Matsushima, one of the 3 most scenic spots in all of Japan. That's not just my opinion, it is officially that. The 3 places are Matsushima, Amano-Hashidate in Kyoto, and Miyajima in Hiroshima. I have videos on the other 2 if you are interested. I was also debating visiting the fox village in Miyagi because foxes in the snow would be really cute. But after a bit of research and reading reviews, it seems like a really cruel place, so I opted out and decided to spend my day in Matsushima instead, which I'm really glad I did. Matsushima has a total of 260 pine-covered islands. It's incredible. I wish I had a drone to capture an aerial view of them all. I would recommend doing a boat tour though. The boats leave every hour at the place I went to. There are also a few islands you can walk to from the mainland, which I will get to after the boat tour, with pretty red bridges to guide you to the island. Fukurajima has a toll of 200 yen that you need to pay in order to get there, but the others I walked to were free. But first, boat tour. There's so many little islands in the distance. This island kind of reminds me of the Hunger Games. Does anybody else get that vibe? Like, at some points when you walk here, it feels like you're completely alone and you can only hear like the sound of, I mean, it's not raining, but the snow is melting, so it's dripping. But the sound of birds and rustling leaves, and then you can hear the sounds of other people in the distance sometimes, and it makes me feel like they're trying to kill me. Oh god, it's time to go. Tall people, be careful. If I can touch this ceiling. I wonder if I jumped, maybe I'd hit my head. I don't want to try it though. After my day in Matsushima, I took the JR back to Sendai Station, grabbed a Zunda shake, and went back to the hotel to do my weekly English lesson. It's interesting. I mean, it is a milkshake, so obviously it tastes like milky, but I don't know. When I think of edamame, I think of the like boiled and salted one, so it doesn't have that like salty taste, but it's good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye. The following morning, I went to Yamagata to meet some friends for a couple days. When it was time to go back to Sendai, it was in the middle of a snowstorm. I was able to get one of the last buses back to Yamagata Station before they stopped running for the day. And this was at like 10 a.m. Most of the Shinkansens were also suspended. There is a local train from Yamagata to Sendai though, and it was a little bit delayed, but luckily I was still able to get on it. Back in Sendai, it was snowy and windy, but nothing like the blizzard in Yamagata. I checked into my hotel for the night, LiveMax. It was a little bit cheaper per night than the first hotel. I made the reservation on booking.com. The perks of this place are that my room was bigger, the microwave and kettle were in the room and not in a shared space, the pillows were fluffier, the bathroom was nicer, and the soap and shampoo were better. Appa had an onsen in the hotel though, a family mart right downstairs, and the staff were extra nice. Both places had contactless checkouts too, by the way. Since it was only around 3 p.m. when I checked in, I figured I'd do something else in Sendai. I had stayed there for a few days already that week, but I hadn't actually done any sightseeing in the city. So I walked about 30 minutes from my hotel to Zuihoden. There are buses that go there, but I wanted to walk. Zuihoden is a mausoleum for Date Masamune, a very powerful feudal lord, and his clan. It's really colorful and interesting. The site is also surrounded by giant cedar trees, which represent the long history of the Date clan. After Zuihoden, it was time to try one of the most famous foods in Sendai, beef tongue. There are so many restaurants offering it, so it was hard to choose, but I went with one called Higashiyama, and I got this giant set that had one slice of beef tongue, some pork belly, and other small dishes, including a mixture of beef and kimchi. If you've never tried gyusan before, it's very good, but it is a bit tough, so make sure you chew it well. I was supposed to fly back to Osaka around noon the next day, but I woke up to an email that my flight had been cancelled. I changed to another one, but it was for 8 p.m., which meant I had an extra day in Sendai. I put my luggage in a coin locker and took a bus to Sendai Daikannon, an enormous Buddhist statue that has a museum inside. There are 12 stories. There is an elevator, though, in case you can't or don't want to climb up. At the time when it was built in 1991, it was the tallest statue in the world. Now that record is held by the Statue of Unity in India, though. It's so quiet in here. There's a really high railing here, but even just looking over this, oh my gosh, it's so scary. But it's very cool. I think some people climb all 12 flights of steps as a sort of pilgrimage, but there's also an elevator, so a lot of people take the elevator up and then the stairs down, which is what I'm doing. When I got back home, the husband picked me up from the airport. Here are the souvenirs I brought home. Basically everything had zunda, the sweet bean paste that is famous in Sendai. I got cookies, mochi, chocolates, and also these apple custard pies, which were insanely delicious. I also found out the pie shop is in Osaka too, so yay! Well, this was a long one. I hope you enjoyed traveling around Miyagi Prefecture with me, and I will catch you next time in Yamagata. Bye! These thermal leggings, they're so warm, but they're so high. Like, it could be like a romper. And these are the only jeans that it could possibly fit these leggings underneath them. But I'm warm.